Our middle childhood assessment we have is the School Function Assessment, otherwise known as the SFA. And I'm Caitlin Claypool, and my partner is Genevieve Butler. For some basic information, the authors are Wendy Castrol, Teresa Dini, Jane Haltwanger, and Stephen Haley. And the publisher is the Psychological Corporation. And this assessment can be purchased through Pearson for $268. The purpose of the SFA is it was designed to assist in evaluating elementary school students' participation in various school-related activities, settings his or her support needs, and his or her performance of specific school-related functional activities. And the appropriate age for the SFA is elementary age students from kindergarten through 6th grade. The SFA measures students' performance of functional tasks that affect the academic and social aspects of an elementary school program in 3 different parts. Part 1 is participation, and this refers to the student's active involvement in the activities characteristics of a particular setting in his or her school. Part 2 is task supports, and this is used to examine the extent to which the student's current performance of school-related tasks depends on additional supports beyond those typically provided to all students. These tasks are divided into 2 main groups, physical and cognitive or behavioral. Part 3 is activity performance, and this is used to examine the student's ability to initiate and complete specific and functional activities. These activities are presented in 21 separate scales and can be used to examine in detail the same physical and cognitive/behavioral tasks assessed in part number 2. Like I said, part 1 is used to examine the student's level of participation in 6 major school settings, and these 6 settings are regular or special education classroom, playground or recess, transportation to and from school, bathrooms, transitions to and from class, and mealtime or snack time. The grading scale for part 1 of participation is graded from 1 through 6, where 1 is participation is extremely limited, and 6 is where there's full participation. Part 2 for task supports is used to examine the extent to which the student's current performance of school-related tasks depends on additional supports of those not typically provided to all students. And there's a 2 type of tasks, the physical or the cognitive/behavioral. And within these 2 tasks, there are 2 types of supports that are examined for each task: the assistance, which can look like adult help, and adaptations, which looks like modified equipment. Part 2 for the assistance level is graded 1 through 4, 1 being extensive assistance and 4 being no assistance. And for adaptations, it's also scored 1 through 4, with 1 being extensive adaptations and 4 being no adaptations. Part 3 is used to examine the student's ability to initiate and complete specific functional activities. And the physical activity performance looks at examining the performance of activities that can have a significant physical component. And the cognitive/behavioral activity performance is used to examine the activities that have a significant social, behavioral, or cognitive component. And this is graded on a scale 1 through 4, where 1, the child does not perform, and 4, there is consistent performance.
So in order to score the SFA, you must add the numbers of each category, so part 1, part 2, and part 3 together to get the raw score. And then you have to get the criterion score and the standard error, which is determined by the Appendix B, and that's on the 89th or page 89 of the manual. And so the results of this assessment represent the result of an interaction between the student and their present school context. The score describes the child's current participation, task support needs, or functional activity performance, but it doesn't answer what is causing the limitation in any of those areas. There's a basic interpretation of the results, which focuses on whether the student shows limitations in participation, an increased need for support, performance or functional activities, or a combination of these. And then there's also an advanced interpretation, which uses the results to create an intervention. And this requires an in-depth understanding of their functional performance. And on this slide, it just shows what the record form looks like. So on the left, this is our basic information. And then the one on the right is how we score it. So there's the 1 through 6 and the categories of what we're looking at. So transportation, bathroom toileting, and things like that. And on the next slide, we have part one. So this is the raw score, criterion, and standard error. And then on the left, sorry. And then on the right, we have the score form, or an example of what the score form looks like. And then, so an example of part one's participation would be like transitions, and that's moving from one area of the room or of the school to another. And this includes like lining up, moving in crowded corridors or aisles, negotiating doorways, following directions and rules, and maintaining appropriate social behavior. And that, again, that's scored 1 through 6. And then example of task support is recreational movement. That's playing games involving in physical activity. This includes throwing, catching a ball, kickball, running, jumping, things of that sort. And this is graded on a scale of 1 to 4 based on the assistance level, and then also based on the adaptions. An example of activity performance is using materials such as like taking off and replacing caps with pens and markers, and that's scored 1 through 10 based on performance as well. And then why do occupational therapists use the SFA? They use it in order to enhance the students' academic and social aspects of elementary students, and they also use it to gain knowledge on areas of limitation in the kids' current school context.